Hello, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. This bulletin is live on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra, Love 99.5 FM in Kumasi, and on over 30 affiliates across the country. Coming up, government releases 855 million cedis to settle arrears owed cocoa farmers amid ongoing crisis as majority backs sweeping reforms to revive COCOBOD.
I'm happy to report to you that this morning, the government has released 855 million for the purposes of paying those outstanding obligations.
We have details as a majority in Parliament says cocoa farmers must direct their anger at the NPP for what they describe as years of mismanagement in the sector.
These are people that will have to line up and tell cocoa farmers it is the conduct of these people that denied the government of Ghana the resources to properly take care of you at this point in time. So that we'll give everybody a cane. Cocoa farmers will ship you in tow.
Also tonight, proposed bill to overhaul national security architecture ignites fierce debate in Parliament as government moves to change the name of the NIB back to its original name of BNI.
Unfortunately, we have a situation where when you say NIB, people are wondering whether you're talking about the bank or you're talking about the security agency. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the significant things that we are trying to do is to reintroduce the name BNI.
Also, Center for Democratic Development Ghana raises concerns over growing unresolved ethnic conflicts as it reviews Ghana spends about 6 million cedis every month to contain the Bawku crisis alone.
The cost that it is imposing on us. Bawku Security Task Force was costing 6 million a month, and that's, I don't know even if that's a conservative estimate.
We're live at the CDD headquarters for its scoreboard on the John Mahama's administration, where the lack of proper coordination of NIMO's activities and inadequate prosecution is flagged as key challenges to the fight against galamsey.
If you're a foreigner and you're arrested, you need to be prosecuted. Now the government comes out with a policy that says that, for foreigners, we have an arrangement with our development partners, so we'll let them go.
Tonight, government has released 855 million cedis to settle arrears owed cocoa farmers, following the recent payment crisis that left many producers unpaid for months, despite delivering their produce to buying companies. Now, in the wake of the crisis, government has announced a sweeping package of reforms aimed at stabilizing and restructuring the cocoa sector, including a controversial reduction of more than 1,000 cedis in the producer price per bag. Speaking to journalists in Parliament, Chairman of the Finance Committee, Isaac Adungo, defended the measures, insisting they are necessary to restore financial stability and place COCOBOD back on a sustainable path.
We have heard a lot of comments from our colleagues, and they have tended all of a sudden to pretend as though they are the people who love the people of Ghana, when Ghanaians were very clear that they were enemies of Ghana and didn't want them near the Flagstaff House anymore. The bottom line of all that has happened is that some amounts were owed to cocoa farmers, and the government took a decision to repay those monies so that the cocoa buying companies can settle those outstanding obligations. I'm happy to report to you that this morning, the government has released 855 million for the purposes of paying those outstanding obligations. But permit me to say, ladies and gentlemen, that we have decided to introduce a number of reforms. But those reforms that we are introducing are reforms that are long overdue. The cocoa sector has been under enormous strain over the years, and we have pretended to be servicing cocoa farmers, when in fact what we have done is to destroy the vehicle that we are using to support the cocoa farmers.
Well, Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Quick Wasanti joins us with details from that press conference. So, Quick, the majority insist that the current COCOBOD crisis was caused by the erstwhile NPP, and they argue that the previous administration cannot now shift blame onto the current government. What reasons did they give?
Well, yes, they speak about a litany of issues that they said plagued COCOBOD under the erstwhile MEP administration. They talk, for instance, about cocoa roads. They say the government committed at the time more than 20 billion Ghana cedis on roads, and all of that sank COCOBOD into a much deeper debt stress, and that is why they were unable to pay cocoa farmers for so long. According to Isaac Adongo, they in the NDC have taken responsibility of the situation as it is now, but they do not expect the kind of rhetoric they are hearing from the NPP.
COCOBOD entered 2025 with roughly 17.8 billion in loans, plus significant operational liabilities. So loans alone was about 17.8 billion by the beginning of 2025. And if you add this to other obligations, you will soon come to realize that at this point, COCOBOD was bleeding with an exposure of over 60 billion Ghana cedis. Certainly, that vehicle could not be sustainable and needed to be addressed. I just want to tell you something simple. You know, what is the name? If you have a basket in which you put water to drink and the bucket is leaking, do you fit the leak before you put water inside? Or you continue to put the water inside hoping that some will be left for you to drink? Obeso ano ansan was nsuo guma na obese nsuo guma no wadwen se nyame beboa na nsuo nakem. You have 60 billion of somebody's money. It's not free money. You are not paying. And you are saying that we should continue to even go and borrow more.
Well, Kweko, so the majority maintains that cocoa farmers are ultimately better off under the new measures.
Yes, in fact, they insist that their colleagues in the NPP must be last. In fact, those are the words of Isaac Adungo there. He stressed that given the kind of situation that farmers found themselves in, he doesn't expect MPP to be speaking about this like that, and that ultimately cocoa farmers are doing way better than they were doing under the NPP.
When COCOBOD had 286,000 bales of jute sacks sitting at the port, they only went and cleared 91,000 of them and left the rest at the port. Meanwhile, they also had 75,000 bales of jute sacks. So add that to what is in the port. They had enough to last them another 3-4 years. But just a few days before they left office, they went and contracted and paid 48 million to bring in 80,000 bales of jute sacks. These are reckless people. If it was possible in the days that we were shipping people, these are people that will have to line up and tell cocoa farmers, it is the conduct of these people that denied the government of Ghana the resources to properly take care of you at this point in time. So that we'll give everybody a cane. Cocoa farmers will ship you in tow. Then we will know who is at fault. But these are the type of people because they can sing and dance more than everybody.
Well, that's Isaac Adongo. He is the chairman of Parliament's Finance Committee. And despite these payments, hundreds of cocoa farmers across Seshi and other major cocoa growing districts on Thursday staged a protest against the government following a mid-season cut in cocoa prices, slashing their incomes by nearly 30%. As you recall, the government reduced the farm gate price from 3,625 cedis to 2,587 cedis per bag for the 2025-26 season, a move farmers describe as a betrayal of campaign promises to improve their earnings. Here's leader of the group.
We, the cocoa farmers of Western North region, gathered today at the regional seat, respectfully submit this petition to the Chief Executive Officer of COCOBOD through the regional manager. We are law-abiding citizens and hard-working farmers who contribute significantly to Ghana's economy. Cocoa remains the backbone of our region and a major source of foreign exchange for the nation. It is therefore with deep concern and heavy hearts that we register our displeasure that the recent reduction in the producer price of cocoa is woefully inadequate and a bad example and precedent to start with.
While receiving the petition on behalf of COCOBOD, the Western Regional Administrator of the company, Enoch Ampofu, said the concerns of the farmers will be addressed.
The farmer welfare is at the heart of every decision that the management takes.
The fact is, I speak in the capacity as a spokesperson or a head of public affairs for Ghana COCOBOD. The decision to reduce the farm gate price was announced by Cabinet through the Finance Minister. So that should suggest that I do not wield any power, as it were, to sit at COCOBOD and say that COCOBOD has the power to reverse it. The decision will entirely be that of government to take.
Okay, I will ask you this question to find out whether with this one you have an answer to. It's that the majority in Parliament, led by Isaac Adongo, who is the chairman of the Finance Committee, today said that government has paid 855 million cedis of the outstanding arrears to cocoa farmers. Can you confirm that to us?
Yes, so what I can confirm to you is that both yesterday and then today, a total of over 1 billion, almost about 1.1 billion cedis, have been paid to the licensed buying company for onward payment to the cocoa farmers.
Right, Jerome, thank you very much. Jerome Kwame Sam is the head of public affairs at COCOBOD. And earlier we tried to connect to Nana Eduna, the second who is the national spokesperson of Cocoa Farmers Association of Ghana, but we have been unsuccessful in that. You're still listening to News 9 here on Joy 99.7 FM in Accra. We're also live across over 30 affiliates in Ghana. Pearl?
Well, let's stay with the story because the Member of Parliament for Tafo, Vincent Assefuah, has petitioned the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice, that's SHRA, to investigate what he describes as abuse of power and administrative malpractice within COCOBOD. And he has a statement he released a while ago. So, Kenneth, he talks about the petition specifically concerns the conduct, role and influence of Mr. Atobwatin, Acting Deputy Chief Executive, Finance and Administration of COCOBOD, in relation to the operations of Atlas Commodities Limited, a private company engaged in cocoa-related commercial activities. Now, the MP says available public records, company filings and Mr. Atobwatin's own publicity, Mr. Atobwatin's own publicly accessible professional profile confirmed that he previously served as Chief Executive Officer of Atlas Commodities Limited in 2018. Well, it goes on and it says that this establishes a clear pro-executive and judiciary relationship between Mr. Boatin and the said company.
Well, indeed, and it continues to say that he's expecting SHRA to investigate 5 issues, and that includes whether Mr. Atobwatin's prior executive leadership of Atlas Commodities Limited, coupled with his current role at COCOBOD, constitutes a conflict of interest under Article 284 of the 1992 Constitution. Also, whether full disclosure of this prior association was made known to COCOBOD and relevant state oversight institutions upon his appointment, and whether Atlas Commodities Limited has received any preferential access, regulatory accommodation, or operational advantage within COCOBOD regulated systems. And let's try and connect with Vincent Assefuah, who is the Member of Parliament for Old Tafo constituency, to get his thoughts. Vincent, do I have you on the line? Good evening. Unfortunately, we're unable to connect with Vincent Assefuah on the line.
Now let's bring you other stories now. And government has proposed a new law to reintroduce BNI under a new name, Bureau of National Intelligence, to prevent a confusion with the current name NIB, which is often associated with the National Investment Bank. The Security and Intelligence Agency's bill is also seeking to place the national security coordination under the presidency, while effectively scrapping the Ministry for National Security. Minority MPs have kicked against the proposed reforms in the bill, describing it as flawed and overly centralizing power in the National Security Coordinator without adequate safeguards. Here are excerpts.
Unfortunately, we have a situation where when you say NIB, people are wondering whether you're talking about the banks or you're talking about the security agents. So, Mr. Speaker, one of the significant things that we are trying to do is to reintroduce the name BNI, but this time, even though the BNI of yesterday was Bureau of National Investigation. This BNI will still remain Bureau of National Intelligence. If you are not careful, you create conflict between a detailed ministerial role and the function of the National Security Coordinator, because he's supposed to coordinate all the activities within the space. So one of the things that we are trying to do is to keep this position as more or less of that of the president, and then he gets one of his ministers to play that oversight without the necessarily fine detailed designation of a minister for national security, so that as much as possible you try to avoid the conflict between the minister and the national security coordinator.
They say it is their direction. So I'm asking, if in 4 years, and it will happen, you are no more in power, we were expecting the new government to also bring a new act to reflect their direction. Is that what we are saying? So you cannot say, Mr. Speaker, that the policy direction for which you are changing the bill is because you want the National Security Coordinator to coordinate the activities. It's already, that is what is being done. And so it will be dangerous for this nation to make that office an agency and say that Parliament shall audit its accounts just like what they are doing to others. I think it's a misplaced priority. If you do that, you will suffer. Take it from me. You will have difficulty, because when you need your soldiers to move in 30 minutes to quell an instance, you have resources. If the president has a problem of appointing a minister, he should not appoint the minister as he has done. There's no need.
The memorandum before us does not provide any empirical evidence to suggest that Act 1030 has failed. It appears that this bill is more founded on partisan political interest than a national security interest for good governance. What is being proposed? So much power is being given to the coordinator. It is not clear how his powers are going to be fettered. Mr. Speaker, my submission is that if you give such powers to the coordinator and you do not provide for a clear path of responsibility, accountability, and oversight, it becomes problematic to you yourself as a government. And when the rights of citizens are being abused, the man will come and tell you that in the name of national security, there will be the need for the minister to sit with us as a house, do further winnowing, and incorporate the major concerns raised by the minority on this floor.
For the clients, when they finish, they say, the way my lawyer can. Did you see the way my lawyer was talking? The other lawyers in the courtroom know that he said nothing. I have listened to all that my friends on the other side have said, and I cannot hear anything. We indeed cut down the number of ministers. The decision to amend this. And among the ministries that we decided to guillotine was the Minister for National Security. The fundamental thing about this bill is to revise the existing legislation and take out the imposition of a Minister for National Security. What you did here is to force the hand of a president so that he must appoint a Minister for National Security. It was a wrong thing for us to have done as a parliament. And this historical wrong has to be corrected. And that's what we are doing today. We are correcting the wrongs of the NPP government.
Away from Parliament, the Centre for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, has tonight raised concerns over the growing cases of unresolved ethnic conflicts in Ghana. This phenomenon, the CDD observed, is putting heavy financial burden on the state. The CDD report revealed that the protracted Bawku conflict alone cost the state at least 6 million Ghana cedis every month to manage. Listen to Director of Advocacy and Policy Engagement at CDD Ghana, Dr. Kojo Pumpuni Asante.
The key challenges that we have with domestically, of course, is the land conflicts, the chieftaincy conflicts, most of them that are linked. Bawku is an ongoing one. And really, the challenge of trying to mitigate, resolve these conflicts, and the cost that it is imposing on us. Because now we've sort of moved from some sort of, episodic, sporadic engagement to more having boots on the ground, having, units in all these conflict zones. But as has been shown, Bawku Security Task Force was costing 6 million a month, and that's, I don't know even if that's a conservative estimate. But how many, you are sending 400 troops to this conflict, to that conflict, to that? How are you going to, sustain this over time? What are we doing in investing in really the preventative parts, the conflict resolution parts, and so on?
James Afeji is our man on the ground at CDD Ghana, and he's joining me on the telephone lines with more. James, we'll go to the specifics shortly, but first, what is the CDD's general scoreboard of the John Dramani Mahama's first administration be?
And it has been both positive and negative as far as the CDD is concerned. For instance, they commend the presidency on several approaches to tackling national issues. For instance, they said the JN government has been very open to consultations, especially with engagement with CEOs on key national initiatives. They also commended for the continuation of key government infrastructure projects initiated by the erstwhile administration. But some negatives also came up. For instance, in Parliament, they noticed the too much use of the certificate of urgency to rush bills through Parliament, especially with very sensitive bills that came to the floor. Also raised concern about their continuous attack on journalists and what seems like the government's inability to tackle the issue head-on, among other things they've been talking about this afternoon.
Right, and James, they have also been commenting about the long-standing Bawku conflict. What have they been saying about it?
Well, they say it's not only the Bawku conflict alone, but when they scan around the country, there is a growing threat to our national security, especially coming from these ethnic conflicts. For the Bawku conflict, for instance, as far as their assessment is concerned, the problem has not been resolved. It has only been calmed by the Otunfo's intervention. But they said that a lot must be done in order to completely eradicate the challenge, as well as land litigations in courts across the country.
And James, they've also been calling for a deeper scrutiny of Ghana's defense budget. Tell us more.
Well, as the current architecture is now, the national security budget, they believe, is shrouded in a bit of secrecy. For instance, how it travels before it is approved. They want some level of transparency, especially for a legislative takeover of scrutiny of our national security budget.
I think there's also a lot of work that the government was trying to do with really trying to formalize the whole security architecture and bring it to sort of more, to have more accountability around it. So currently the national security budget transferred to Ministry of Interior, because the Ministry of Interior is also serves as the national security minister. And maybe that brings it more into the purview of Parliament. But we really need to resolve this architecture. I think everybody has to accept that, yes, we need much more scrutiny and supervision of our security activities. So any way in which that architecture is properly institutionalized to allow for parliamentary oversight and so on, and spending and all of that, that has to be addressed.
And finally, James, what is the CDD's assessment of the Galamsey fight?
They say that so far over 1,400 arrests have been made, but no significant prosecutions have been done. The enforcement of Act 995 has not also been pushed to the limit where the kingpins have been arrested, increasing impunity towards law enforcement agencies. In a nutshell, they say that improper coordination of the NIMOS activities is preventing the fight to reach the level at which it needed to reach, or is a threat to the current fight against galamsey.
But the way NIMOS is operating, insufficient funds, there's no way they are going to be able to do the job that they are supposed to do. What we know from the strategy they set up is to ensure that they were going to deploy permanently to about 21 locations in 7 hotspot regions. That has not happened. What we are seeing is sporadic raids here and there, and that is not yielding result. They go to, say, Jemira Forest in Ashanti region, they come back to Accra. The people just wait by the windows and all of that. Once you get to Accra, you don't even get to Accra, they go back to the forest. They are seizing equipment, but where are the equipment going? Who's working with these equipment? So these are all issues that we need to look at. Now, I think that even if there's some sort of prosecution going on, we are not seeing the penalties becoming deterrent enough, because these miners, they are rich. And we are not making sure that the penalties are deterrent enough. So they always go back. One thing that we have also seen here is that we need to put in place very deterrent measures. But to have policies where, for example, Act 995 says that if you're a foreigner and you're arrested, you need to be prosecuted. Now the government comes out with a policy that says that, oh, for foreigners, we have an arrangement with our development partners, so we'll let them go. And then you jail your own people.
It's now time for business, and George Riafe is here with the latest. George, take us away.
Well, Kenneth, coming up in business, COCOBOD promises to clear all debt owed license buying companies after it advanced more than 1 billion Ghana cedis this week to aid the payment to cocoa farmers. And Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies and bulk or distribution companies threaten strike over diversion of LPG fund as they vow to explore all legal means to reverse this action by government. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials, Synthesis tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal. Welcome back to business on Newsnight. Now, COCOBOD has given the firm assurance that it is working hard to clear all debt owed license buying companies. It is coming after it advanced more than 1 billion Ghana cedis to these companies this week. Jerome Sam is head of public affairs at COCOBOD.
Did confirm that money have been coming in for such. So what our focus now is on the 50,000 metric tons which we had that we sold them, and monies have been coming. So we have started. I cannot be specific with the timelines as to today or tomorrow. But yesterday, we were able to pay about 237 million cedis. And just today, this morning, we again made a payment of 854 million Ghana cedis. That's even before will come in. So as and when funds come in, we make payment to the license buying companies for them to also be able to make payment to our gallant cocoa farmers.
Jerome Sam is head of public affairs at COCOBOD. Now, the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies and the bulk or distribution companies have threatened to strike over diversion of funds from the LPG fund to the Ghana Cylinder Manufacturing Company. These two associations, in a joint statement, vowed to explore all legal means to reverse this action. There is more in this report.
The two associations in the statement went ahead to argue that their actions had also been influenced by the fact that the decision constitutes a flagrant breach of statutory mandate and a dangerous sabotage of national energy policy. They further argue that the action represents an unacceptable betrayal of public trust and a blatant deviation from the fund's original purpose. The statement added that the fund was never intended to serve as a discretionary capital for ad hoc allocations. They therefore maintain that redirecting it to GCMC is not administrative flexibility, it is a statutory violation that demolishes the foundation of Ghana's LPG safety and infrastructure framework. The LPG fund was established in April 2024 to finance the construction and operation of LPG bottling plant in the country, as well as to support the rollout of a cylinder recirculation model for safe and efficient LPG distribution.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, real estate developers say they fully back the proposed changes to the rent bill, seeking to cap advance payment by tenants at not more than a year. Speaking to Joy Business in an interview, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Samuel Amagaibo, noted that looking at the current development in the economy, this is a prudent thing to do.
Landlords normally take 2 years advance now and more if they have the opportunity, but I think they all have to appreciate that it doesn't come easy for people to raise those huge sort of funds just to settle rent, and so they should agree and appreciate that it's a mutual consideration between parties, and so if they appreciate the need to limit or don't demand for too much at a time, I think it goes a long way to help, especially the young ones.
And Samuel Amagaibo is the Executive Director of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association. Now, mining giant Goldfield says it is in discussions with government to ensure that it secures a favorable deal when it comes to lease covering its Starco mines. There are strong indications that the lease for the mine could expire next year, but with the current push for local ownership, there are fears about the fate of the mines going forward. But speaking from Johannesburg, South Africa, in a media call after the release of its 2025 financials, Group Chief Executive Mark Fraser says they are hopeful of some good deal being secured with government.
What happened in Damang last year was a bit of a surprise to everyone. I think we were always clear that Damang wasn't an asset that long-term was a right fit in our portfolio, and there was another natural owner of this asset. So I think where we got to in April after a bit of storming with the government was the right outcome, to be perfectly honest. And we've been working very constructively now towards the of the asset, which will take place on the 18th of April this year. We have, as part of the agreement to hand over Damang, agreed that we will have lease renewal. We did at the end of November actually formally submit our lease renewal application and paid all the appropriate fees, and that was following an update of the life of mine plan and an increase to the reserves, which we announced in November as well. That then set the groundwork for the engagement around the terms of the lease renewal. I think what's going on in Ghana is certainly a narrative about, is the government and the people of Ghana getting a fair share of the resource wealth and the value that is created, particularly as Ghana is now the largest gold producer in Africa. And so we've been having very constructive conversations. The backdrop to the discussions are that first and foremost, there has been a move to increase royalties. So there's a bill in front of Parliament which is about an increase in royalties. We've been having a discussion both bilaterally as well as in industry.
And that is the Group Chief Executive of Goldfields, Mark Fraser, speaking from Johannesburg, South Africa, in interaction with Media Men on the 2025 financials. And tonight on the PM Express Business Edition, we are engaging the new president of the Association of Ghana Industries, Dr. Kofi Nsiah-Poku, on the current state of the manufacturing sector, his thoughts for the association, interesting development on 24-hour economy, government's plan to add value to cocoa, what are his thoughts. He'll be sharing that tonight at 9 p.m. on Joy News and all our social media platform as we talk about the manufacturing sector, right, and industries at PM Express Business Edition and all our social media platforms as well.
And you'll want to make a date with George.
Yeah, should be interesting. It's now time for sports, and Musbao is here with the latest. Musbao, what's up in sports?
Well, Ken, Sports Fund is in the news, and the Minister for Sports and Recreation, Kofi Adams, was in Parliament today, and he's been making some very strong calls for public backing of the Ghana Sports Fund after donating 2 months of his salary to support the initiative. Well, the Sports Fund is intended to become a major source of revenue for most sports and activities in the country, and also national teams as they embark on national assignments. Now, the minister was delivering a statement on the floor of Parliament today. Is urged individuals and corporate entities, along with state institutions, to contribute towards building a sustainable funding base for sports development in the country.
The first contribution to this fund has already been made. The National Investment Bank has demonstrated leadership with a donation of 100,000 Ghana cedis. That gesture must not stand alone. It must mark the beginning of a national movement. In that spirit, I will donate 2 months of my salary to the Ghana Sports Fund effective February 2026. If we expect the private sector to invest, if we expect federations to reform, if we expect young athletes to commit, then leadership must also commit.
Yeah, that's the sports minister and Minister for Sports and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Adams, 2 month salary. And there were a few other members of parliament who also donated 1 month salary. And the majority chief whip donated, guess how many months of his salary?
Tell me.
3 months of his salary to the sports fund. It's pretty good, isn't it?
Quite
pretty
impressive.
How much are you willing to donate, though? Pearl, you want to donate?
Let me ask you the same question. How much will you donate?
Oh, we've already made donations.
Oh, really? How much?
There are some donations that are called undisclosed amounts. Ken, you want to donate? We need some money. Oh, really?
No, I
We need
wouldn't.
to help the Black Stars carry funds to the World Cup and all of that.
Not with my money, I'm afraid.
Ken, you're a Ghanaian. Come
I'm
on.
a Ghanaian, but
you know what happened to Arsenal yesterday?
Oh, tell me the
They
good news.
dropped points yesterday.
Of course.
And
I
now
mean,
it's 4 points between them and Manchester City.
you know, anytime Arsenal is on the league table, is on the top of the league table, there's this joke that keeps coming up that Arsenal is like an elephant on top of a tree. Nobody knows how it got there, but we certainly know that it will fall.
Oh, come on. You guys should be fair with Arsenal.
Oh,
man.
please.
Just, of course, it's a bit worrying for Arsenal fans. Manchester City have got a game in hand. If they win it, means 1 point between them and Arsenal. Arsenal have got to win the league this year.
Arsenal is
win
always
it this year. When are they going to win it?
They are always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Oh, come on. You're being too harsh on Arsenal. Pearl, say something.
I'm being honest.
You don't want Arsenal to win the league?
No, I'm a Chelsea fan.
Oh, dear. Well.
You see, the whole world is against
I'm a
Arsenal.
Chelsea.
Anyway, thank you, Musbah, for bringing us sports. Now, in other news tonight, many rural and peri-urban dwellers rely on firewood and charcoal for domestic and commercial cooking for various reasons. The use of wood, charcoal, comes at a cost to the environment, which is cutting of trees and the emission of smoke. The government has been implementing interventions to facilitate a seamless transition from unsustainable energy sources to clean and reliable energy. But has it been a success? There's more in today's Climate Evidence by Joy News' Precious Semavo.
The world's energy sector is responsible for about 75% of greenhouse gas emissions from fossil electricity generation and traditional biomass, among others, according to a 2023 International Energy Agency IEA report. In Sunyani, in the Bono region of Ghana, where some residents still use firewood and charcoal for domestic and commercial cooking and industrial purposes to sustain livelihoods. But a few, like Gloria Sifa, a food vendor, have had to use clean energy against her preferred firewood due to the location of her food joint. Her preferred firewood and charcoal come at a cost of forest destruction, a worrying situation according to Richard Kofichei, Bono Regional Deputy Director of the Forestry Commission.
We all need to work together, reverse the trend. Otherwise, time will come and then we all found one. In our society, you will say that poverty is one of the reasons why they continue using firewood. They cannot afford it. And so though we don't like, but gradually we will reach there. You can deduce that it is easier getting the firewood as against the LPG.
Dr. Khalid Mensah is the head of Department of Atmospheric and Climate Science at the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani.
Clean, sustainable energy supplies that could be alternatives to this firewood and charcoal burn has to do with the use of LPG gas.
You see, Jana said, "No, 1.5. That's a gas. We thought now watching 1.5. You do here say, "You part about better as you are sitting here over so you see, because you use gas, no, the no amount."
The country receives some money from this global alliance, and then also some are from these climate-related groups, and all of these could be geared towards creating some subsidies.
Precious Semevo Sunyai.
This story is brought to you by Joy News in partnership with CDD Ghana, University of Ghana Center for Climate Change and Sustainability Studies, with funding from Claire R4I Opportunities Fund.
And let's bring you other stories. On the Kwabenya Brekusu Kitasis Church, pupils make their way to and from school along a dusty, pothole-ridden road. Covering their faces with handkerchiefs has become part of the daily routine as every passing vehicle leaves behind the haze of dust that blurs visibility. Now, beyond the classroom, the impact is evident at the Brekusu Health Center, where health workers report increase in respiratory diseases. More in today's episode of Roads of Peril. A cry for help.
Please tell the president to fix this road for us. The dust is affecting our health.
A hospital struggling under the effects of a bad road.
We have respiratory tract infections, both adults and the kids as well.
This is the Brekusu Road. Commuting to and from school should not be this uncomfortable. But for these young ones in Brekusu, it is. Every day, pupils walk along this untarred stretch, bracing themselves for the next passing vehicle. When a vehicle approaches, they pause and cover their faces, knowing that once it passes, the dust will follow. Gabriel Maupemo says he's allergic to the dust and is worried about what constant exposure could mean for his health.
You see, when the cars are going, the dust that comes straight, it comes straight to my eye. It makes it itch me. Sometimes I have bad eyesight at that time. And even inhaling it, sometimes I cough.
Elizabeth Donko, a resident, has had enough.
Oh, go ahead from. Yes, sir, what the high Brekusu. Why, Munkacho Mampay, no bear crime, why? Joy FM, yes,
Joy FM, this is Brekusu. Please tell the president to fix this road for us. The dust is affecting our health. We are tired. When it rains, the situation gets worse.
Yes, the
At the Brekusu Health Center, health officials say respiratory-related cases are common. Patrick Afenu is a physician assistant and manager of the facility.
We have respiratory tract infections. We have the bronchitis, the croup, the pneumonia, the rhinitis. We also have pneumonia and asthma cases coming in, both adults and the kids as well.
Sterling International, a private school on the Brekusu Road, has had over 100 pupils leaving because of the condition of the road. Alfred Kojo Aloti is the principal.
Between 2003 and now, we've lost almost about 105 students. Some will come in and go, that by the twinkle of an eye, they are gone. And eventually it leads to withdrawals.
Learners here share their own experiences.
Actually, I don't live around here. I live around Pokrasi Kwabenya. So I have to commute from there to school every morning. And the bus gets spots easily because of the road. And you can be on the bus. We are inhaling a lot of dust as we're on the bus. So we can be on the bus and we randomly hear 5 people sneeze at once. we all get sick sometimes. When the weather is cold as well, it can cause some of us to get so sick. Some of us are asthmatic as well. So it's really not a good thing with the current state of the road.
Due to the potholes and the dust, parents are not able to come and visit their children in the school. And when they come to visit, their cars mostly get spots on the way here and it gets dirty. So we would like for the government to fix the road as fast as possible.
From children covering their faces on their way to school, to a health facility managing rising respiratory cases, to emergency referrals complicated by poor access. The cost of this road is being counted in more ways than one. For Joy News, I am Ofori.
And here are some of the messages you've been sending to our WhatsApp platform. Francis from Accra says, I agree with Isaac Adungo on the whipping of MPP officials for COCOBOD financial woes. To President Mahama and his NDC, they should move heaven and earth to kickstart the 24-hour economy policy in any shape or form, just as the MPP did with the free senior high school policy implementation, and defend it with their last blood. Albert from Adentan says, regarding the current cocoa-related challenges, I listen to individuals such as Opono Nkrumah and Afenyo Markin, and I sometimes wonder whether it is the same MPP that, through the Akufo-Addo Bawumia government, led us through 8 years of unprecedented hardship that has suddenly discovered how best to manage the economic affairs of the nation. Obed from Accra says, please, we, the national service personnel in the public sector, are seriously suffering. We have been at post since November 3rd, and to date, not even 1 month's allowance has been received. Meanwhile, our colleagues in the private sector keep receiving their allowances every month. Please, is it a crime that we were posted to public organizations? And Nana from Spintex Road says, by the way, whoever told the MPP that with a substantive defense minister, the jihad fighters would not strike? The fighters are up there in the northern part of Burkina Faso. I'm sure our traders took a chance and unfortunately were caught up in the crossfire. And Pearl, you certainly do want to listen to the next story because it's quite interesting.
Well, Ghana's chop bars are in for a makeover. The Ghana Tourism Federation is on a mission to transform these local eateries into a must-try for tourists and locals. A team is gathering insights from chop bar owners nationwide, aiming to boost hygiene, comfort and service. So, cleaner joints, comfortable seats and washrooms, simple changes that will make a difference, said Yeboah Okran is president of the Ghana Tourism Federation.
We are coming out with models that will be a basic standard that will be used to train all tourism practitioners. You know, there's always complaint about Ghana is an expensive destination and all that. And I think that food contributes to one of them. And Ghana, unlike Kenya and South Africa, what we are selling is our culture, and food is part of the culture. And some of the food vendors, especially those we call the chop bars, some of them where they operate from need some improvement. So we are working around the clock. Last week, I put a team together to collect data of all the chop bars so we can redesign and remodel them. So basic thing, have a washroom, proper place to sit. When this is done, I believe it will enhance the food service delivery. I believe that it's not only that, but we have to also be intentional to empower women. About 70 to 80% of these chop bars are owned by our mothers, women. And we have to help them to improve the quality of service, especially where they cook that food from, that feed the whole country.
That sounds like a very innovative idea, Pearl.
It is.
Only if it will work. And that's it for Newsnight. Thank you very much for being a part of the show. My name is Kenneth. Gyasi.
My name is Ofori.
Have a good evening.